Hi, good afternoon. I'm sitting here with Simphiwe Makapela, writer, speaker on innovation, entrepreneur, detective of possibilities, chronicle, if I'm saying that correctly, of our ideas, peddler of solutions, Xhosa, German, English. I would love to learn about the German. Welcome here. This is the Turning Point podcast by We Believe in Africa, as well as Spaces for Youth. So we want to share stories, share the African show story, decipher, decode success, but share the journey, share the turning points that people have overcome, and celebrate the human journey. So welcome, Simphiwe.
Thank you so much, Darryl. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, it's only a pleasure. I'm glad that we met at the TED Talk at TEDx Joburg. And I was totally fascinated by your story. We want to get into that now, but totally loved it, and I love that you're so professional. Did you grow up in Alex, or where does Alex fit in your story?
It fits into the business model of everything that I do right now as I don't know, people call me a rat catcher, but it's essentially created this business, and it turns out we looked for a place that is incredibly plagued by rats, so Alex was the starting point. So I didn't grow up in Alex, I grew up in Soweto.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a big difference. I mean, but when I was going to ask you this, as I told you, as I sent you these ideas that I have, tell us about the rat. Tell us about what's rats to you? I mean, because rats are everywhere, especially in townships.
Rats form part of a problem that I grew up with, myself and my partner Abel. And once upon a time in a township, we were sitting at a church where we fellowship. So we thought about this because now we are from. Abel and I had 11 failed businesses between the two of us.
11 failed businesses?
11 failed businesses between the two of us. And so we come from a professional speaking background. So a lot of people ask me, so how do you descend the stage and go into the deepest and darkest holes chasing rats and call yourself an entrepreneur out of that? So we created something that would essentially catch as many rats as possible. Catch the biggest of the biggest down to the smallest of the smallest, and do all of that without poison. And when we figured that it was possible to do this, we saw the gap in the market for that, and it was incredibly huge because now, until this point, no company, until we came into this and launched this business, no company was able to target the space that we had been targeting for a long. And so we created a patent out of it, and
fantastic.
Sure.
But just backtracking, so how was you saying obviously you were in church with your business partner Abel, but what was the rat doing in Alex? You're not talking in Alex in Soweto. I mean, what was the problem?
It started because I remember in my speaking business, I had the privilege of speaking at a Guruleni municipality. I was speaking to the environmental health department. Coincidentally, while we were busy, trying to secure a patent for our business, I got booked to go and speak to an environmental health department, the department that is now the department we are talking to get this particular business of ours into the program. And what happened was we had a limited view of what it is that we were creating, only to find out that the budget that the government has for it is a lot. And so it broadened our perspective about, so you guys are just not busy chasing rats, you are trying to create an industry, in fact getting into an industry and broadening it ultimately. So that's the potential that came out of learning about how big the rat business is. And as is always the case, when you get into an industry, you're driven by passion.
Sure.
And the facts actually make you stay in it.
Yeah.
Because when you start seeing that, this is what has been happening over the past few years. In Australia, the budget I think is about $30 million per annum.
Wow. To get rid of rats in the city, or just all over?
In a particular city in Australia.
Wow.
In the U.S., in California, not the whole of the U.S. In California, in the agricultural sector, about $504 million is lost due to rat damages. So it's a multi-billion. In fact, I was talking to a friend of mine and I said, if you think about it, every industry that you can think of is a multi-billion industry. It doesn't matter what industry you can think of. Even the Muti traditional medicine in the township, that's a multi-billion rand industry. So every industry is a multi-billion rand industry. So ours turns out to be international, but we didn't know about all of those things because we thought rats are a problem. how do we solve rats in our immediate community?
Sure.
But ultimately, there was a market bigger and much wider than what we had, been exposed to at the moment, at that particular moment.
Fantastic. That's quite insane. But I mean, just tell us about, so what's the business called? Let's start also there.
Do you want to guess?
I know it, but I'm just like, just for
the Hamelin.
The Hamelin.
And you know what came out, how it came about? In Germany, there was a story. In fact, we grew up being told this fabled story about the Pied Piper of Hamelin, about how in Germany there was a city plagued. In fact, the name of the city was Hamelin. This city was plagued by rats, and so they've tried every intervention to make sure that the infestation is reduced, but to no avail. So this guy came, blew a whistle, and rats started fleeing leaving the city. And so they called him the Pied Piper of Hamelin. It's a long story, so we decided to name our business the Hamelin.
Okay. Oh, fantastic. And you basically created traps to catch mice.
Mice and rats.
Sorry, rats. but I mean, part of your talk, where I was going through my tweets, you failed this model you've developed. There's been 37 alterations. So, do you want to tell me more about that?
If you are going to invent a coffee cup, it's just going to take you one try. And, it might take you 4 more tries based on how you want it to look, based on the perception that it gets. But if you're going to be dealing with something that has its own behavioral system, like rats, it's hard to determine whether or not what you've created will work. What we created on paper, it did not work out the first time because rats are incredibly smart. So we did that. So after we tried it out, it didn't work. Went to our second iteration. This is after, of course, we found partners because this would never have been possible without a partnership of some sort. So we did that until we got to the 37th iteration, and the 38th one was a charm, and it worked incredibly well.
Fantastic. Yeah. So I was going to ask you, so you basically have this hole that you dig in the ground, catches the rat. So does the rat die at the end, or is it still alive when you get it?
Yeah, unfortunately it does. It doesn't live to tell the tale.
How does it pass on? to give a rat a gentle passage.
It drowns basically.
Okay, so there's water, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but we ran into some troubles with SPCA about how to, the manner in which we were killing the rats. So we rectified that problem. And, if you think about poison takes about 3 minutes. Longer than 3 minutes. Drowning takes 3 minutes. But it's the gruesome nature of it that they worried about. But if you think about it, poison is much more gruesome than drowning.
And then also you might bury the rats, and then the land gets poisoned, because you've obviously poisoned this rat.
And poison actually has... It goes so many directions in a negative way. If you put it in a community, because our business was actually targeted for communities and farms. So if you go to a community like Alex, there have been cases where dogs have eaten the poison, babies have eaten the poison. So it doesn't work.
Because your business will be destroyed. You just need one case and it's over.
Sure. Yeah, but so fortunately for us, the catch that we saw was, let's find something that has absolutely nothing to do with poison.
Yeah,
and that's
fantastic.
How we actually got into the market.
So what do you guys do with the dead rats?
That's an interesting question. You know why? Because we are catching a lot of them. And if we begin our program with the government, suppose we begin a program today, and we set up in Alex where we install 6,000 traps. And we, according to our numbers, it's going to yield 15 tons of rats per night. Per night.
But what, per night?
Per night, yes.
15,000?
15 tons.
15 tons.
And if you think about
it's a lot of
rats. It's a lot of rats. It's truckloads of rats. The logical question arises is, what are you guys going to do with these rats? And so the answer to that question led to the second part of our business, which is going to be on the next focus about what we are going to do next, which is finding a way. We're still in the R&D phase right now about creating fertilizer out of it.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So that's actually what we're busy researching. And
that's amazing. I look forward to having this conversation in a couple of years. And then say, you build like the rat is a byproduct, but actually it's yielded so much.
I hope I get to speak about it at the TEDx conference again.
Yeah, no, that sounds fantastic.
Fertilizer.
Because you other guys, probably in the eastern side of the world, will probably be like, let's make rat burgers, then you can have I'm just saying, you could have catching rats and then feeding the nation. Maybe. But fertilizer sounds good because you can. There's also, as you mentioned, in another with the conversation we had earlier, is that can be for. You could ship that off to another country to fertilize wherever in Mozambique or Brazil.
Yeah, the R&D will guide us. We'll try and find a legal way to do it.
It was 15 tons.
What do you do with that? Because firstly, we thought we incinerate them and find ways to get rid of. But we thought, how about we actually find byproducts?
No, absolutely. So that's great thinking.
Yeah.
Fantastic, man. But just jumping back, tell me about your childhood in Soweto. Where exactly in Soweto?
I grew up in Soweto, in a township called Protea South. Yeah. I grew up as a soccer player, and until the age of 21, that's when I had this dream that I am going to somehow become this great soccer player. Play for Bafana.
Which team were you going to play for locally?
Locally, I was going to... it's interesting because I'm a Orlando Pirates supporter, but I wanted to play for Kaizer Chiefs because of... As a young kid, I've been to their soccer trials and I liked the organizational thing about them and how the junior side carried themselves, So I had this thing that I want to play for Kaizer Chiefs.
And support Pirates.
And support Pirates. I don't know what happens. I don't know what conflict happens inside when the two face. I have no idea. I didn't get that far, but I wanted to become a soccer player, and I think I had the talent.
Fantastic.
It's one thing that I'm sure that I was born with. Every other thing is everything that I had to learn. Everything that I know how to do right now. Writing, speaking, having a meeting, networking, etc. Something that I had to learn after the age of 21. But everything else, soccer, as far as I'm concerned, I think I was born with it.
Okay. Yeah. So do you still play?
I hardly ever have the time.
Yeah. Okay, I was about to say that. But do you watch lots of soccer? Is that still a pastime?
I'm an avid soccer watcher, but I don't watch a lot of soccer because I'm too busy right now.
No, for sure.
But
and especially, weekdays. There's lots of European soccer. There's lots of South African soccer. Not weekdays.
Sure.
So weekdays, for me, it's challenging because there's so much things happening during the day and evening.
Sure, but I have to be honest. I never miss Barcelona for anything.
Okay, you're a Messi guy.
I'd have to postpone this interview if Barcelona was playing right now.
Yeah. And then coming back, and I think what you mentioned, just jumping into soccer, like how you said the system at Chiefs, how amazing the system is at Barcelona. One of the best youth development systems.
It's interesting. There's a book that I still need to get. It's called The Barcelona Way.
Okay, I'm gonna write that down.
You should. I still need to get that book, and basically the whole essence about the book, well, it's not for soccer players, but it's about the culture that goes into the team called Barcelona.
Yeah.
It's about the winning culture that you find out of Barcelona. Because if you think about Barcelona in the field when they win a match, they recently won 6-1. If you think about that and you take that and you try and isolate it from their culture, it leaves a whole lot out of the whole calculus. But if you actually try and attach the whole culture from, you spoke about the junior level, but Barcelona has a culture that makes it Barcelona, and that's why I think that book is an interesting book that I still need to go, because it speaks about so many other things that you don't see in the field. You see a branding called Barcelona, but beneath the branding there's something called a culture that generation after generation. How is it that generation after generation, that's one of the best teams, or arguably the best team in the world? How is it? How is it that they're able to attract the most disciplined players, the most? Well, they do lose, but how is it that they're able to attract quality?
Yeah.
It goes back to business. You create a company. How is it that you're able to attract and keep quality
That's the
and
magic.
talent. It's one of the conversations that are, doing the rounds in corporate today, attracting and keeping
Yes,
talent.
and obviously now with this new millennial model, the new ways of thinking,
Hard
technology.
to keep people like you. It's hard to keep people like you because you're always out on the lookout for what's best and what's better out there. But if you play for an organization that has your best interest at heart, you somehow want to build a tent and stay there because of that culture that you've probably been invited into. So that's basically the essence of everything else.
But I mean, did you first learn the way of Barcelona, or were you first attracted to the way they're playing?
I liked Ronaldinho. And then it's just how they play.
Yeah.
The thing is, I used to love them as a soccer player, but now I love them as an entrepreneur and as someone who's conscious.
Because it is that the business side of Barcelona,
The philosophical side of Barcelona. And how
because they recently just bought a German youngster. I saw that on YouTube. I think he plays somewhere in Germany, but he's very young. But I saw they were saying like why Barcelona bought this guy. But I mean, incredible touches, incredible first touch, incredible passing.
Really?
I'll look it up. You probably know him, but
yeah. Follow up into it.
But I don't know. I've read a book called Integrity, and there's another one called The Jersey I want to read, but it's on the All Blacks. Now, look, we obviously South Africans who support the Springboks, but then I read like the All Blacks has the best record across all sporting codes in the world. No one can touch their record, whether it's netball, soccer, swimming. No one comes close to their record, their win ratio. But it comes down to their culture.
It comes
how you
down
play
to
for your small club. You then get promoted to university. Then you play for like the Super 14 team, and you go and have like these club evenings where you wear your first jersey, and you get indoctrinated into the integrity. And into the system of what it means to be an All Black. Like those guys would play for free. But then, I mean, why, with Spaces for Youth, why we have the term uniting and inspiring youth and communities? And someone also told me this, that like all the successful guys and women are big readers. Your big ideas are going to come from the books.
It's true.
So
it's true.
What I found was with the All Blacks, their number one reason why they play for New Zealand is to unite and inspire their country. It's not about the status, the car, the money. It's about bringing their people together and inspiring them. So I thought, I mean, how amazing is that?
It's incredible. It's incredible. Everything that is of substance in this world was preceded by an incredible amount of passion. The people who are the forerunners of that particular movement. So if you take We Believe in Africa, if at some point it becomes a global initiative, I've seen how you're passionate about your work, but this is not an ironclad predictor that you are going to employ people who are as passionate about you, and that will guarantee whether or not they will stay or leave the organization. Sure. But actually, the fact that it will become a global citizen, it means that something great preceded it, other than the fact that you were chasing money out of it. Yeah, you have to have a business model that actually governs and controls longevity in the whole organization, but passion is the groundwork.
Absolutely.
And without passion, I think it's impossible.
No,
it's really impossible to create something of great substance that goes generation into generation.
Absolutely. Yeah. Tell me quickly, what happened at 21? Where you said at 21 things shifted.
I didn't cut it.
Okay, well, was that it? Did you decide that this is the... Because we know, like, you need to break into soccer channels by the age of 14, 15.
Well, 21 professionally.
Yeah. No, but I'm saying, let's say for Chiefs to get hold of you, they're not going to sign you when you're 25, unless you're a superstar playing for Pirates or Free State Stars. But, you're not going to break into them at 25.
Well, there are stories of people who break into that.
Okay.
But it's hard to do that after a particular age. So I put all my cards on the table and I said to myself, look, I'm 21 and I haven't been focusing on school a lot. Yeah, I've been doing well in school up until that point, but I wasn't living up to my potential. I remember even in high school, I was playing for Jomo Cosmos at the time.
Oh, nice.
And our development side, junior side, was actually one of the best, better than Kaizer Chiefs at the time.
Okay.
And any other team you could think of, But I my math teacher, because I really loved math, and it didn't require a lot out of me, and that's the only subject that I did well in, because I just took it as a game. That's how I studied math, and I did well in math. But my math teacher called my mother and told her, "You need to stop Simphiwe from playing soccer."
Oh wow.
And I didn't listen, and it took me to matriculate and then go into tertiary to start realizing that, you know what, in 21 I haven't cut it into professional football, so what needs to happen now in the future? Because what are the odds that I would make it? So that's how I decided.
That's I mean, that's really one. That's a lot of vision, man. I applaud you for who's going to sit on the fence and say, this is what I've accomplished, this is where I want to go.
Sure.
This is not taking me where, you know, that's a wise move.
Well, at the time, I think I had started into public speaking at the time. Flunked my first public speaking experience. In fact, I was ridiculed off the stage.
Oh my word.
Yeah. So I've been speaking for 10 years.
For 10 years?
10 years, yeah.
So what gave rise to that?
There was the fact that I failed the first time I spoke in public to a group of students, evil students.
They failed in life.
So what happened was, I was with this initiative from church, as most speakers back then started speaking initiative from church, and we were at a local school doing some charity work, if you like, and they said, you take the next group to speak to them, and I said, great, because I've listened to Les Brown.
Yes, I know Les Brown. Yeah.
Modern motivational speaking. I thought to myself, yes, I can do this. So
wonderful.
Yeah, and I took to the stage having not prepared, and I was ridiculed.
By these high school learners.
I was laughed off the stage 5 minutes into what was supposed to be a 30-minute presentation. I was ridiculed off the stage, and I promised myself that I would never speak ever again. But the bug bit me, and I got addicted to this whole thing. And I worked at it. I think it took me about 3, in fact I would say 4 years for me to actually be comfortable ultimately on the stage. And we did a TED Talk. So
look at that. Yeah, because that's one of the measurements if you're a speaker, is to be recognized by TED. And to say, listen, come share your story on our stage. So well done on that. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Because, then do you use obviously you got the what's it called? The Hamelin. That, and it's public speaking. How do you do that, both of them?
It's interesting. Last week I was speaking at the Professional Speakers Association of Southern Africa. And a guy by the name of Steph Du Plessis, one of the most elite speakers in the country. He said to me, I complained about this whole thing, and he said to me, you know what, you don't have to worry about this. One has to feed from the other. You need to take your career, your entrepreneurial activities from the Hamelin and build your speaking business out of it. And that's what I've been seeing lately. But for the TED Talk, in fact, the TED Talk is what the Rat business is what got me on the TED platform.
Yes.
And unfortunately, I had to speak, use my speaking capabilities out of it. But before that, I didn't get the quality of speaking engagements that I am getting right now.
Oh, it's wonderful.
Because of this particular Rat business. So this is feeding the other one. So I'm able to take the Rat business, create some content out of it, and deliver
lots
it on
of
stage.
Content,
And on stage, I'm using my professional speaking capabilities to deliver what I do in the real world. So it's not what I did a couple of years back where I spoke about what I read.
And that's amazing. I think that you got a great formula there, because it's almost like people don't want to hear the books, the stuff that you've read, but you've actually failed 36, 37 times.
Sure.
And you have a story to tell on innovation. I know you're big on innovation, on learning. You obviously know a lot about, what's this guy? Also a leadership guru, John Maxwell.
Yeah.
One of his books that I really love is Failing Forward. I think you read it.
I've never read it. I haven't
must
read
check it out.
but
But
I
one
will.
of the most amazing book, how it then he says basically fail forward, but how you've actually done that and how you can and expose the lessons you've learned to others.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
so it's real time,
Yeah.
and it's obviously and as you mentioned earlier, it's African stories. Africa, and I'm big on
Yes.
promoting African stories for African people with
Yeah.
African people. No,
Yeah.
look, we share this world together,
Yeah.
but we also want to promote what we're doing.
Yeah. So it's about what came out of this business, and everybody I'm having a conversation, I get to have a conversation with, is this is a real South African problem. For the TED talk opportunity that I got, I recently learned about this from the guy who actually sent out the invitation. Was that, you know what, you need to make sure that this one hits home, because we turned down international speakers to get you on this platform.
That's fantastic.
So because of the Africanness about the story, and the fact that it's a problem that it's a global problem, but the fact that you took a township problem, this is not another software problem that you guys have solved. Yeah, well, no offense to software solutions, but I'm just saying that it's rare to see a South African township problem that ultimately gets a world stage.
Yeah.
And that's what is birthed out of this whole thing, creating this consciousness that in South Africa there are stories that we need to create and package and sell to the world. And that's what this thing is doing and continuously does every single day.
No, that's fantastic. Is there any way, I mean, you spoke about Australia, the rat problem in Australia. Is there a vision for, I mean, tell me about the future of Hamelin. Is there opportunity for you to go into Australia and say, this is a solution, and then buying into your product?
Yeah, there is, but we need to do the groundwork to make sure that it hits hard right here at home before we're also in the process of creating an app for the South African community. So if we roll this out in Alex, the 6,000 traps are installed, and the people who are going to be looking after these traps, these people will have a smartphone, of course. Everybody
who doesn't have a smartphone
has a smartphone. So we will upload this app into the system, and in that system, this is going to be effective for us for data analog. So we're going to make sure that out of it, because rats live in an environment that is affected by other factors. There are weather conditions in that, and so in that app there are going to be those things, and those things determine rat behavior, determine how many rats you catch, perhaps because we've seen that. So with that, we are going to be having some content embedded into a particular software, and that will be sold to international markets, and that's what we are trying to develop at this point in time.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
Thank you.
That's also in your R&D department.
It's also in our R&D.
Sounds
department,
amazing.
And it's birthed out of a rat. But today we are at a point where we are talking about digitizing a rat. So we're making that rat business sound sexy, and it's very much possible.
Yeah. Because I mean, we were obviously driving here to meet you. I was thinking, my closest recollection of a rat is obviously Splinter in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. There's no good rat stories. There's no rat. Like maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but he was a rat. I don't know how he became a rat, but yeah. So that's my. There wasn't rats where I grew up, but I'm just saying that was the first rat that I recognized. Looking back at my childhood.
Yeah. I was at a couple of days ago. I was at the Four Ways Chamber of Commerce, and when I was introduced, the guy says, this guy runs a Mickey Mouse business.
He says that to you about your business.
My business. He says he runs a Mickey Mouse business. So the people who didn't know that I actually chased rats, they thought I'm probably dealing with a very small business. Yeah? Mickey Mouse has this analogy of something very small.
Yes, it's like a cultural term. Like they belittling you. Yeah.
Belittling me, but he said you will understand why I call it a Mickey Mouse business, because Mickey Mouse is a rat ultimately.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He says Mickey Mouse is a rat, and these guys actually have a rat business, and so that's hence the term Mickey Mouse business.
Yeah.
And people were actually interested in how it actually unfolded.
No, I think that's fantastic.
Thank you, man.
But just jump me back. I mean, tell me. I mean, I'm reading Obama's autobiography now, and amazing how his stepfather, the role his stepfather is playing in his life. Basically, I'm in the book now. Tell me about. I mean, it's amazing how the stuff he learned, like his stepfather teaches him how to box because he gets hurt at school or something like that. I mean, what role did your parents play in you being Simphiwe today? I mean, tell me a bit about them.
I have to give credit to, my mother for the support, my sisters, and I didn't have a very strong male figure growing up, but I did have a father, but as you grow older, you make decisions that, because if you look at other people who grew up under these circumstances, this particular incidents, and they create something negative out of it, but fortunately for me, is I grew up in the church where there were so many male figures out of that kind of environment, so I was able to insulate the turmoil that I may have been exposed to by not having a very strong male figure, and I think the church actually closed that gap for me to kind of like make sure that I don't fall by the wayside as opposed to. So yeah, I did. But as for my mother, my particularly my mother, because of the sacrifice, you can imagine raising an entrepreneur is not what everybody can do.
Sure.
It takes someone with a different set of muscles to raise an entrepreneur. Someone you're gonna tell, go and find a job. I'm serious this time. Find a job, and that person says no, and you still have to parent that person. It takes a different set of muscles. But where we are now, in terms of my conversation with my family, we are glad that you didn't actually go look for a job.
Yes.
And unfortunately, not many people are afforded that opportunity to fail, and still stick and get the support that they get from home. You can imagine starting out in business, you have to get money to catch a cab. It becomes a sentence.
There's this whole analogy says to make money, you need to have money. Like you said, you need taxi fare. You need it's into data to send a CV.
There are costs involved in everything, and if you don't see how you are paying out of a particular action, there are implicit costs to every activity that you do. It might not have come from your pocket, but money was spent out of whatever you breathing. Money actually was spent out of you breathing, out of being alive. You might think that someone who's a hobo is not part of an economy to some degree. They are part of an implicit economy. The fact that somebody had to buy bread and throw that out. It's still bread that was bought.
Sure.
It cost 13 rands. Unfortunately, it wasn't finished, but there's an implicit cost to it that he has tapped into. So it's money is part of the world that we live in, but unfortunately, some people are governed by it. You look at VBS situations, but ultimately, it's how you view it and how you are able to capitalize on it. And ultimately, as entrepreneurs, where we grew up, we are not raised with opportunities. You have to go out there and find them. That's where it costs. It costs you more. You have to upskill yourself to know how to speak the language. When you get to that point, speaking that language, knowing how to, liaise with people who are going to ultimately afford you an opportunity to fund your business. You have to be a particular kind of person to get that. And to be that person, you have to develop yourself as an individual. Developing yourself requires some costs, somehow that costs involved. You read books, but those books there are costs involved. So if you can't afford, I grew up in the library. In fact, when I made a decision that I'm going to be, I don't know anybody in my life who's read a lot of books. Then I'm saying this with the greatest of humility, but I don't personally know anybody who read more than I did. But the thing is, the perception is you need money to read, but there's a library.
Absolutely.
So I would go to the library, take books out of there, I would read articles a lot. I would find free websites where you could download books. and read like 4 books a month. I'll just consume books.
Yeah.
And ultimately it pays off. You might not see where it takes you, but ultimately it pays off. It pays off because you sit with a Darryl in a meeting and you spark an interesting conversation that leads to an idea.
Sure.
And they like it. And Darryl has money, has connections. You get afforded an opportunity, and ultimately that's how you grow as an individual. To take advantage of the little that you have.
Tell me a day in your life, Simphiwe. Well, the average day.
Let's take today. When you called me about finding a place, I was in a meeting with a client.
Yeah.
Before I was with them, they called me. I was with a meeting. I was in a meeting with another client. In 4 ways. So if I'm having a seriously busy day, if I'm not, I'm in a meeting with a client about a speaking engagement, or I'm in a meeting with somebody who's interested in taking our business to the next dimension. Because right now, I told you earlier on about where we are, which phase we are into scaling this particular red business, and we need different sets of muscles right now.
Sure.
Past the stage where we were looking for developing an idea. Now we are into the stage where we are growing a business, and that needs a set of muscles. So we are trying to take advantage of different people with different contacts, different exposures, and that's what we're busy with right now. And earlier on, I was in that particular kind of meeting.
Okay.
And so if I'm not speaking, I'm with my business partner, Abel.
Yeah.
And we are in a meeting with some person who's old enough to be our father.
Yeah.
And naive enough to say, I believe in you guys. Yeah. So that's and if I'm not doing that, I'm writing. I'm writing articles for the platforms that I write for.
Okay. And how much time do you then spend reading? Also, is there do you and when do you read? Like mornings, afternoons, evenings?
Evenings. Okay. Can't read during the day.
Because that's the magic time. That's productivity time.
Sure. I read in the evenings, and it's tough lately because now I have to prepare for my speaking engagements. I'm speaking next week. I have to prepare for that. But when in a week, if I'm not heavily involved, that's where I find the times in the evening. Okay. Where I'm going to dedicate an hour. I would probably, back then I would sit for 3 hours non-stop reading Malcolm Gladwell, Michael Lewis, and Peter Drucker. I'm a huge fan of Peter Drucker.
Yeah.
He's no longer around, but the books that he wrote, there's this particular book that he wrote, Leading in a Changing World.
Okay.
He wrote that book probably 30 years ago, describing the kind of world that you and I are going to be living in. So he was predicting a work climate for people like me and you. And most of those things are actually happening. And this was 13 years ago. So
I forward thinker.
He was such a forward thinker. He was a management thinker. He's known as the guy who invented management. And when I read his books, they're very practical in a sense that he empowers you with tools that are very practical. It's not fluffy motivation about yes you can, and when you put the book down you find out how do I do it. Yeah, he's more his latest read, the latest book that I'm reading from him is Innovation as a Practice.
Okay.
So how do you take an idea, grow it and put it into a market? How do you do that? So how to assess whether or not this particular idea will fly or not. So it's about not just having something with passion, but actually trying to break it down and finding out if it fits a pattern consistent with a market. So how to break into a market like a thief. So he's a practical thinker, and that's what I like out of him. And I usually tell people that I read for 3 different reasons, and I read 3 different books for those 3 different reasons.
Okay.
Firstly, I'm a writer. I need to read people for style. Okay. This is not somebody who has to possess content. And then I read for information. That's why I read people like Peter Drucker.
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily looking for what kind of writer he is. I'm looking for what I find out of the things he writes about.
Sure.
And then I read for empowerment. For that, unfortunately, or rather fortunately, I engage with the Bible for that, for transformation purposes.
Okay, fantastic.
But those are the three reasons I read for empowerment, transformation, for style as a writer, and for information to keep up with what is happening in our world. Those are the three reasons that I read, and I think it works out well for me.
No, it's awesome. I was going to ask you what platforms you're allowed to share. What platforms you currently write for?
I write for Under30CEO, but I haven't written for them in a very long time. Currently, I'm with Innovation Excellence. It's from the U.S.
Oh wow! That gets published in the States.
Yeah, it gets published in the States, and I just share it on my social media.
Okay.
And, one of the articles that I wrote, it was about rats, but I was talking about innovation, about leading the rat race, the hurdles of innovation, the three hurdles of innovation. That article was in the top 20 most read articles.
Well done.
And, so it was one of my missions to write for a publication that is from abroad.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Do you have that? I mean, I know that you have a blog site, but do you have that anywhere on a that just to document that you were right for this American publications, and it's actually you've reached the top 20 in terms of articles that week. I'm just saying that's a good reference point, or like a CV point that could help.
Yeah, that is. But it hasn't been in my latest profile. I just need to between you and I'm sure people are listening, but just between you and I, don't refer people to my blog. I was young and foolish when I wrote it.
Do you think you should take it off?
Yeah, but I just still need to update. I've been preoccupied with rats, and I even abandoned my speaking engagement for a time to develop this particular business. And now that it is actually giving way back into my writing and my speaking, it's time to go back into it.
I look forward to learning more about your story, because obviously you're not done yet. But I'm learning more, and as you grow and how far this can, imagine the next 10, 20 years, it's a long time, but you could be catching rats around the world. I would love to tell that story. I think that's just that would be phenomenal.
Wow, I don't know if there will still be rats around, but at the rate they're giving birth, I think we're not going to get rid of the rat population. We're probably going to reduce the rat population. That's our focus right now. We've got 10 rats in the world. We'll just keep them at 2 rats in the world.
But tell me, what is the reproduction rate of a rat? You guys obviously know about this.
If you have a wife or a fiance and you guys are those rats, you are going to be giving birth every 2 months and to about 8 babies.
So that's 4 babies a month. Basically,
and that child will be in reproductive age after 2 months, after 8 weeks.
No, wait. This is so you
from a single rat. If you actually track its generation down to a year, you might be looking at 1 million rats out of a Darryl who's a rat. You might be looking at 1 million Darryls
in a year.
Because if you think about it as a triangle, you're gonna give birth to 8 kids.
Yes.
Those 8 kids
within 2 months.
Within 2 months, those 8 kids are gonna give birth to 8 more kids.
Wow.
So it's gonna be each of those kids are gonna. So you're looking at a population of 1 million from a single.
So that's before you and Abel got onto this. There was probably maybe 10 million rats a year being created.
Yeah, it's. I think the number is actually more than that. When we were testing in Alex, one of the ladies came to us, one of the traps that didn't work. She said to us, you know what? She spoke it in one of the native languages. Excuse me. She said to us, you guys, please solve this problem, because I think it's a rumor that we hear about how Alex actually got to have as many rats as possible as they are today. But what we heard, I know it's probably a story that's not true, is that there was a truck that came in the middle of the night and it offloaded all these rats, and that's how there was. It's not true, of course,
Yeah.
but it speaks to the nature of the rat infestation.
Look. From my experience, there's lots of stuff happening within these communities. Drugs being with the old regime in our country. Drugs. I mean, there's more bottles. There's more bottle stores and drug dens within these communities.
Sure.
And they're there for a purpose. They're not just there to make a few people rich, but they're there, in my opinion, there to hold a certain population back. And also with drugs, with alcohol, with all these things. And I think, I wouldn't take that comment lightly, because how do these rats just come up? And yes, you might.
Poison is one of the reasons they come up. It is one of, sadly, it was designed to be a remedy, but it turns out that it's one of the propagators that make this whole rat infestation to grow. Because if you look at the nature of how poison is designed, if this is a 200-gram bar of poison and this is a rat, let's just assume for conversation purposes that a rat is supposed to digest 100 grams of poison for the poison to be effective.
Yeah.
So a rat doesn't know that it has to digest 100 grams of poison. So it comes and munches into whatever it can munch into. And let's say it munches about 180 grams of poison and it leaves. What happens, the next rat will come and find 20 grams of poison. But remember, the biology would state that it needs to digest 100 grams of poison. So it finds 20 grams of poison. And what that does to the whole system of a rat that has digested 20 grams is that it goes into its blood flow and its bloodstream and it becomes immune.
So
now think about it this way. Now this particular rat is pregnant with
those eight babies.
Those 8 babies become immune. It creates this immunity from what was
I didn't think about that. That's
so
phenomenal.
now you have bigger. Now you've probably seen that rats today are bigger.
Yeah.
And it's simply because of this poison. Because now it becomes immune to the poison. So no matter how much poison it can actually digest, it doesn't solve the problem. You could try it with snakes.
No, you're totally right.
You could try it with snakes, and this has actually been tried in the Amazon, where people who actually live around snakes. But what happens is that when somebody is young, what happens is because they live around in a community that have venomous snakes. So if you could do this and inject your bloodstream with just a drop, not enough to kill you. Please just make sure we get the measurement right.
Yeah.
If you get just a little bit, just a drop, not even a drop because a drop would be devastating, but just a teensy drop of venom from a snake, venomous snake, it would knock you out. You would probably have this crazy headache, but you would get up and you do that probably for a month. What it would lead to, it would create some immunity for you that even when a snake comes and it bites, you would be immune to the whole venom. So you could put a Darryl and somebody who did not actually go through the whole system. The person would die from a single bite after 30 minutes, but you would live, and you wouldn't even get any side effects from actually being bitten by a venomous snake. So it's the same thing that happens with rats. Rats in townships that have rat poison as a remedy, it actually makes them immune to this poison.
It's fascinating. So how long have you been working on this rat? Because obviously to get that amount of information, you had to go through it yourself of trying poison. How long has this rat business been operational so far?
As I said earlier on, we patented in 2014. And everything that we know now is not information that we Googled.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things you learn about innovation.
And being an entrepreneur.
Being an entrepreneur is that if you're going to rely on Google, you're not going to innovate. Well, you would innovate, but you're not going to be effective in innovation because you don't have information from the ground. I remember the current logic in the rat industry is that you have to put a trap at the corner. And when we tested out, we pitched this to the city of Johannesburg. They said that this guy is going to be installed in the township And when we go on a 14-day trial with you guys, we can assure you that we will beat you because we will position our traps at the corners because that's like behavior. That's what Google actually educates. Google professors actually educate us that if you want to catch a rat, it's true. That's actually true. But our trap is placed right in the middle of the playing field, and it caught more rats than that.
Wow.
So we've defined current knowledge about how a particular industry works. And most of everything that we know about rats is everything that we actually encountered. We created new information that was not there before. When we pitched this information to the city, and we were like, no, this is not true. We said, we'll show you. This is how we actually came across it. We become a creator of information as an entrepreneur.
And that's good, and that's your intellectual property.
It becomes your intellectual property. Yeah. That's why with our app business, we will be selling information in the global market for these kind of purposes. Nobody else has this kind of information.
Absolutely. I want to ask you also just quickly, tell me about the future from your side. I know it's, tell me about the future.
I still want to speak. So there are two things that are always going to be a constant in my life.
Yeah.
It's speaking and writing. As for chasing rats, I'm probably going to get tired of chasing them. We'll take the business where we want it to go, but speaking and writing are always going to be a constant. But I'm always going to be an entrepreneur. I'm always going to be looking for the next big thing.
Sure.
The new thing. As Michael Lewis actually describes it, as an entrepreneur, it's your obligation, it's your single mission in life to always look for the new thing.
Yeah.
If I'm going to be in the rat industry for the rest of my life, then I'm always going to be looking for the new thing in the rat industry. That's how companies like the Seattle coffee shop, coffee is always going to be coffee, but the way you sell coffee, it's always going to be challenged by the way people do and expect things to be done.
Sure.
As people change, but I'm always going to be an entrepreneur, and I'm always going to be a speaker, and I'm always going to be a writer. But the way in which I'm going to be doing all of these things is always going to be changing. 2 years from now, I'm going to challenge the Simphiwe that I am right now. And challenge it with a new way of doing things, challenge it with a new idea. And we might have an interview again, but it might not be about rats. It might be about humans.
Absolutely. No, that sounds awesome.
Thanks, man.
That sounds awesome. Just quickly, I want to just refer back to just as we're closing up. You tweeted, I think, last week about Victoria Yard. What happened there? There was a rat infestation. You guys came in. Did you clean up the story or?
Yeah. So they are one of our clients, but we're trying to test. Well, they have a rat infestation crisis, and of course, Victoria Yard is owned by one of the people I shared a stage with at a TEDx platform. And so we said, I have a crazy infestation. I'd love you guys to come and actually fix my problem. So that's what we're busy with actually right now. We have traps installed right there, and from time to time we go and we actually try and monitor the results. And, it's not going to take a 2-day thing. That's how a trap works. It's not Vaseline you get from a traditional. It's something that it's dealing with rats. We told the client that, you're not going to catch anything today, tomorrow, and the next day, because rats are used to the environment. They've mastered the environment like in a way that is incredibly impressive. That for the first 4, 5, 6, 7 days, you might not catch anything. Even in a highly infested area, you might not catch anything because they're still trying. They're used to a particular route.
Yes.
And when they see a coffee cup, they interrogate it. They ask questions about what is this? Where does it come from? What does it mean to me? And after that it's catch after catch, and that's how we start catching them in their numbers. So we're busy with them right now, and Sure. That's the
cool.
story we have.
And then also there was, back to your hometown, obviously with the Food Lovers Market in Soweto, recently there was a rat infestation there. You tweeted about it, and that was obviously a great opportunity where you could obviously get exposure and consult and say, listen, we've got a solution. What has happened with that?
Well, that problem is not going to be solved. It's not the problem of food, the problem that needs to be solved by food lovers. Yeah, they need to take the precautionary measures as a food retail company to make sure that they have that particular part checked out. But where food lovers exist, it exists within the context of a wider environment. And that wider environment is heavily infested by rats. It's the township. And this is where we need to come. If you need to solve the food lovers, and I think I tweeted it or I didn't, but I thought about it somewhere, that food lovers was caught, but it's not food lovers only that has the problem of having the facility invaded by rats, particularly food-related food retail. So you have retail stores that are not caught. What about Pick and Pay? What about Shoprite? What about other food services businesses around the area? But you're not going to solve all of that problem, all those problems, unless you solve the content. So the dip kloof where they are situated, and that's the kind of problems that we deal with. You know, we might not be interested in solving food retailers having traps planted around the area. We want to solve a wider problem. Sure. That's where the bigger problem actually exists. So unless you actually do that, 10 years from today, we'll still have Pick and Pay, ShopRite, and I can assure you there are rats invading. I've seen rats in some of these food services businesses, and you're not going to get rid of that problem unless you solve their surroundings. Sure. And there was an article that was posted, written and published by a journalist about the fact that the food lovers crisis needs to be solved by the government around the area, the council around the area. But unfortunately, we've been in talks with the city of Johannesburg in terms of solving rat infestation in the township. Where food lovers exist, where small-time farmers exist. So yeah, that's it's how I look at it. Sure. And it's the reality of how the problem is structured. You're never going to solve the food lovers crisis. They've been shut down.
Oh wow. And it's not, as you're saying, it's not necessarily their problem. You know, it's a community. It's a community
issue. You're not going to solve it because they are encapsulated by a place that is heavily infested with rats, and you're not going to solve that. I can bet you my father's favorite pets. You're not going to solve the problem unless you look at the whole township. So here is Dip Kloof. Dip Kloof needs to solve the rat crisis, and that's the kind of problems that we solve.
Fantastic. Just last two questions. I mean, just coming back to what is your fondest childhood memory? Soccer.
I mean, a player of the tournament.
Okay.
Yeah, played at this tournament as a youngster, and we reached the finals. It's like a UEFA, but it's slightly less formal. Yeah. There's no music that precedes parade into the field. But we reached the finals, and I was voted as the player of the tournament.
Fantastic! Congratulations!
Felt like I was,
But you were like Barcelona, I'm over here.
I'm a Messi, not just Barcelona. Because it was interesting because you get people when you walk down the street and they say, "Sure, Pro." Actually, people still call me Pro, which is my nickname. Yeah. So, which is like pro, professor,
professional.
Yeah, of football. So that was my childhood, the fondest childhood memory.
Fantastic.
Getting called up to the platform and becoming a football player for tournament, that particular tournament.
Yeah, no, fantastic. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then, what are some of the turning points in your life?
It was when I was ridiculed off the stage.
Yeah.
It really, I have this instinct in me when I have total disregard for inability of a particular activity that I do. I don't like being average. I don't like doing things for the sake of getting them done. So when I failed, it was a serious blow to my psyche, to my ego about doing. It's not that I do things so that I could get recognition for the sake of getting recognition. Right now, where I am, I'm in a point where I am driven by a particular kind of purpose. I'm still driven by this thing of trying to be excellent in everything that I do. If I'm writing an article, I will not submit that article to you unless I have actually ticked my boxes for me. I'm currently writing an article for another publication in Northern Business. And I've been sitting on the article, I've been finished with it, but I'm not happy with where it is. When I've delivered a talk, I'm not happy about that particular talk because it doesn't tick out what I've set out for myself. I have a benchmark that is not in competition with anybody else, but in competition with what I believe is what is acceptable for me. We all have what is acceptable for ourselves. So for me, the turning point for my life was when I was ridiculed off the stage. Because from my soccer days, I used to have this thing about performance, what performance means.
Sure.
So that's why I was the player of the tournament. Yeah, of course, I wasn't always the player of the tournament. Sure. I know what it means to deliver, and deliver in a way that is artistic for you, to create this thing that you did not just deliver, but you created questions for the people around you observing. And that's what separates people who are great. They leave great and people who are ordinary. People who are ordinary, yeah, they probably are good at what they do, but people who are great at what they do, they create questions around their delivery. And when I failed, I didn't want to speak again because I thought to myself, I can't do this. I'm not going to throw myself in a position where I can't grow in a particular space. So when I failed, it was a major turning point because I challenged myself. I looked at what is acceptable to deliver on stage and what I need to actually go above. And I'm still actually challenging my delivery to this point. Every speech, every presentation that I have to give is preceded by presentation. I still don't cut corners into the fact that I've been speaking for 10 years. You could invite me to deliver a presentation at We Believe in Africa now, and we drive off and we do that. I might do that, but I prefer to actually prepare.
No, for sure.
And it created this sense of preparation that you're not going to get into the room unless you are prepared.
Yeah.
And that's been a major turning point. Because one thing I learned is never get into a room unless you're prepared. Of course, there are curveballs that are thrown in every room.
Yeah.
This interview was not scripted, but the nature of it came from a sense of preparedness out of me. Then trying to visualize how it needs to go and how do I get myself into the right headspace. Athletes do this. Great athletes do this.
Absolutely.
And you wonder why Cristiano. If you get into Cristiano Ronaldo's work ethic, I was recently inspired by Phil Mayweather's work ethic. People think he's a great boxer. Yeah, he is a great boxer. But what separates him from another boxer who's trying to get in there, this guy, you wouldn't believe that at 3 o'clock, at 2 o'clock in the morning, he gets up and he jogs to the gym. Well, he's wealthy now, he has bodyguards. But he jogs
can afford
to the gym. But he did that when he did that. Not he doesn't start doing this now. He did that when he was still trying to break his way into it. But now he would jog down to the gym with his entourage, with his bodyguards. They would be in cars. He would jog that probably 30 minutes to the gym and start practicing. 2 a.m. right until 5 a.m. and then he'd go back and sleep. Wake up probably at 10 a.m. Go back to the gym, and you wonder that it's not by chance.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
It's never by chance that people become great. People become good by chance because of their inherent capabilities. There are certain things you are able to do because of who you are and how you were born. But there are certain things that if you want to be great, it's going to be deliberate practice, unfortunately.
Absolutely.
It's literally going to be deliberate practice. So I'm still in the deliberate mode of how I do whatever whatever that I engage myself in. You know, I think I'm an okay writer. Yeah, my article was in the top 20, but for that article to actually get to that point, it wasn't just written and submitted. It was written and scrutinized and challenged and skepticized. You know, that's how I do what I you need to not be comfortable about where you are. You need to be happy and grateful for where you are. But if you need to go to the next level, you need to challenge that.
Fantastic. And then just lastly, I mean, if I was to give you, let's say, 10 million rand, where would that go? What would you do?
I can assure you, I'm not trying to sound intelligent or smart about it, but more than 50% of it would go into some of the business that we are trying to sort out right now. More than 50% of that amount of money would go into the R&D and the development of some of the ideas that are in our stable right now. Okay. So we're planning. We do have beyond the rent business plans of actually getting into other industries, and 10 million of it buy me that opportunity to of course I'll buy myself a nice Rolex watch. But I can assure you, not more than 50% of that amount of money. In fact, with the remaining part of that money, I would actually start funding the lifestyle.
Absolutely.
But not funding it in a sense of actually trying to be part of the clique. Of the new entrepreneur who needs to have a certain thing to be called an entrepreneur. But most of it would go into the future. And I promise you, 100,000 would go into the future. 50,000 right now would go into the future. It's not just 10 million. 10 million would just afford me the freedom to actually now, focus more into, doing more of what I would do with less of it.
Like less financial pressure.
Less financial pressure. 50,000 would do that, to allow me to do that. 100,000 would allow me to do that. 1 million would allow me to do that. So 10 million would actually allow me to do that and Harvey Specter's haircut, perhaps,
Fantastic. Simphiwe, is there anything else you'd like to share? Did this go the way you wanted it to go? Is there anything that you still want to share with me or with our audience about you, about your journey, your turning points, the future?
I think we're in an interesting age as young entrepreneurs. I don't want to say as young black entrepreneurs, because in the past, not even in the not so distant past, there used to be this thing. In fact, the conversation in certain circles right now is I am black, therefore that is why I cannot access certain spaces. But what I find is that it's not a limitation. It's not a limitation in the sense that it could be an advantage, the fact that you are this particular skin color. But there is a point where skin color, age, level of finances pale in comparison to what you offer on the table. I wrote an article about 3 reasons why black entrepreneurs should forget about support. Because the current conversation right now is support small black businesses. You go on Facebook and you see this gentleman or this lady who created this particular bakery business, and all they are doing to promote their business is support black businesses. And I can assure you, from liaising with white entrepreneurs right now, there is a point where innovation knows no color, no creed. There is that point where it is about innovation. Innovation has no skin color. White businesses that have that kind of support ultimately get to a curve where their whiteness doesn't afford them to pass that market, that certain level. And it is about the innovation in the business itself. And that is what I am seeing with the conversations that I am engaging myself in right now with the different people that I get to communicate with, white and black. And I'm actually intrigued by the fact that there are even white people that are actually facing that market entry trap, simply because they've passed the point where it is about support. Because of course, where we come from, our pasts affords certain people, affords certain skin colors to have access to certain opportunities. But once you get to that level, there's a point where it's no longer about that. It's like being a basketball player. You might think that being 1.95 makes you a great basketball player, but after 1.88, you are a basketball player, and you are going to be valued based on your input in the basketball.
Absolutely.
Because a slam dunk will always be a slam dunk past a certain height. Yeah. So being a 1.95 doesn't actually make it advantageous past a certain point. So it's the same thing with innovation and skin color and modern business. And that's what I would want people to actually start knowing. That if you are black, stop crying foul about support. Nobody is going to support. Support is not for growth businesses. It isn't. Growth businesses are driven by understanding what you're doing and where you are actually headed to. Support is for survival. But growth is for people who have passed the support curve and actually have gone into the curve where it's no longer about skin color. And that's what I think we need to actually start getting acquainted ourselves, get ourselves acquainted with. Sure.
Fantastic. No, that's great, Simphiwe.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining me this afternoon here at Seattle Coffee Shop opposite the Gautrain train station next to Alexander Forbes. It's been a great afternoon, and thank you for making the time and for sharing your wisdom. I appreciate your time, and looking forward to still being in touch with you, and obviously learning more as you continue this rat race and winning the rat race.
Thank you so much, Darryl. I can't thank you enough. This has been a privilege for me.
Thank you,
and I really appreciate it.
Thanks, man. And just lastly, how can people get hold of you if they want to get in touch with you?
Well, I can't say they should send me a message or send me a please call, since please call is actually under scrutiny right now and they're about to. But they could catch me on social media.
Okay.
Just go on any platform.
Yeah.
Say Simphiwe Makapela. You'll find me. LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. I even get speaking bookings on Instagram. So
wow.
Email is no longer the formal way of doing things. You just have to get yourself, acquainted and centralized in terms of communication is concerned, that if you can't be posting this on Instagram and be another different type of Darryl on Twitter. I'm not saying you shouldn't have a social private life on social media, but you carry out whatever you need to. Whatever you carry out is going to be followed on all channels. On Instagram I get bookings.
That's interesting.
Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and of course email, which is like grandfather's way of doing business. But you'll find me everywhere, social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and what else is there?
Yes, but that's the main ones.
That's just the main ones, yeah. And WhatsApp. There are people who just find the number from somewhere and start WhatsApping me. So if you still think we're going to do business via email only.
I think it's faster to WhatsApp. And also, obviously Instagram. I've never heard of a business approach on Instagram, but
And my Instagram profile is not geared for business, but I post my business activities from time to time.
Sure.
I post a whole lot of nonsense sometimes on Instagram, but it's not nonsense enough to actually deter the kind of brand that you're trying to create. But sure, it's not geared for business, but it actually does carry that business nature about who you are most likely to deal with, and the person, because the person is more important in the business that you're dealing with.
Business,
I need to know a Darryl that I'm going to be getting into business with.
And most likely, nowadays, if you go for a job interview, they're going to check your social media your social media status and what you're up to. If you, so if it's critical.
If your Instagram handle is shake your booty, goodness, good luck.
No, you need to be professional on all fronts.
Professional, but you need to be human.
True.
Yeah. Human is the new way of doing business. Human in a way that's not overbearing and uncomfortable for people. So that's just about it.
Yeah. Cool, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Darryl. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Simphiwe.